like to say shout out to all the brothers and sisters out there in social media land. Get my head right. This is indeed a great day to be alive. This is a day that the Most High have made. We shall rejoice. We shall be glad in it. We're going to pick this video back up. It's going to ride on the back of the one that we done yesterday, dealing with simplistic nuggets of wisdom for living. And so we're going to deal with some more simplistic principles that can be made applicable to our life without a whole lot of effort. So whatever you invest your energy in is what you're going to be good at. I want to deal with these simplistic messages because many of you know that the murder rate is off the charts in almost every urban community in this country. Our people are being destroyed by their own hand. And that don't even factor in the people that are dying from natural causes, from diseases, from different ailments. Elder Maniel, he always tells me, he said, our brothers and sisters don't understand that the death angel ain't never went back inside. He's still roaming around out there. And so, by that standard, many of you know that we came on there, we told the brothers and sisters in Kansas City, Missouri, how we had experienced some great losses of our childhood comrades, back-to-back losses. I mean, one, bam, one, another 5 days later, bam, another one 3 days later, bam. And then, as soon as we laid our last brother to rest, I went in and figured I'd finally get me some rest, and only to get a phone call at 3:45 in the morning that we had lost another one of our loved ones. And so the funeral seemed to be never ending. So I'm asked that you guys, that you brothers and sisters, will be in prayer for me on today once again, as we try to encourage a family that have lost a loved one, and life is changed, never be the same again. So we want to deal with some of these simplistic principles for living. Yeah. Just trying to gather my thought together. I know where I'm going to go. I got the scriptures right here. But it was some other things that I wanted to bring out before we did. And this is one of the reasons why we tell brothers and sisters to chase after wisdom. You don't have to worry about chasing after all that deep stuff. Just chase after wisdom. Chase after those simplistic things in life that teach us how to live our life with each other in a way that makes all of us a little bit better off. And when we're chasing after wisdom, God had to give a man leisure time in order to acquire that wisdom. The first funeral that we did was on a Friday. The second funeral that we did was on a Monday. And the funeral today that we're going to do is on a Tuesday. And these are all days that people have to get up and go to work. So when you start talking about wisdom come by way of leisure, and he that have small or little business shall be able to lay hold on wisdom. That's what we're talking about. Everybody can't take a day off on Friday, come right back, take a day off on Monday, come right back, take a day off on Tuesday. When God gives you wisdom, it is for a reason. And that is so that you can be freed from the everyday responsibility of working on people's jobs. So the opportunity of leisure carved out some things that told you that the plower or the farmer couldn't get wisdom because he would be consumed in his work. The blacksmith couldn't get wisdom. He would be consumed in his work. The carpenter wouldn't have the wisdom. He would be consumed in his work. Neither would the potter have it. But they would maintain the state of the world. He said they would not sit in the congregation. They would not be able to give judgment. They would not be able to do these particular type of things that are a necessity in the world. All of the things that a man do when it comes to his occupation, they are needed in the world, but there are some things that are needed in this world that are far greater than any of those things. So we need brothers and sisters that will chase after the Father's wisdom so that, you know, times like this and moments like this, the brothers and sisters can be replenished. So we want to give you some simplistic nuggets for living. And just for a minute to try to move away from all of the things that seem important but really are not. And I like to believe that, I don't want to say that people studying the Bible for the wrong reasons, because I don't have the, that's not my area to be able to say that about anybody. But I will say this, is while we are studying the scripture, we must be able to discern those things that are needful for our life versus those things that are not impactful for our life, which just become information. So we're going to ask that the Spirit of the Most High would bless the word, that he would bless those that have ear to hear it, and that the Spirit will give us grace and empower us to make these things applicable to our lives so that our brothers and sisters can receive a blessing at our hand. And that's our prayer on this morning. So we're going to come out of the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 7. In the first verse, it reads, "Do no evil, so shall no harm come into thee." As I said before, we're in a time now to where they got 1,000 ways to kill you. It's 1,000 ways to kill people now. I woke up this morning and read a post, and it was a post that I knew about, but I seen it again. Somebody shared it. And the post was dealing with J. Edgar Hoover. The question was asked to him during his presidency, what did he think the greatest threat to America was? And his response was Negro unity. Of course, he lived through the time of Martin Luther King days, and he's seen the power that a nation of people could have when they collectively unified themselves together. And as a result, there have been many illusions and many psychological stratagems put in place to cause Negro disunity rather than us being unified. So we're dealing with the fact that disunity breeds chaos and hatred and murder toward each other. I don't know how it's going to get fixed. I just know that we had the Most High's promise that he will fix it. But we all have a part to play. So I also spoke with one of my childhood comrades that we've been friends for over 45 years, more close to 50 years. We played together as kindergartners, and we yet still remain together until this day. And I remember back in the days, we would have many fights. We would have many fights. You old Christian, man, you Islamic, you know what I mean? Because he's Islamic. And back then I was in church, you know what I mean? And that seemed to be the thing, that we be in the beauty shop, and as soon as he come through the door, I already know what Stefan Roundtree wanted to talk about. He's going, we're going to sharpen our knife on each other based on what we believe. And he would wage war based on his perspective of Allah and the Quran, and I would wage war based on my perspective of Jesus Christ, who what I would eventually come to understand is Yahshua HaMashiach. But nevertheless, through all of that and the differences of mindset and perspectives, we still were able to remain brothers until this day. He is amongst the closest friend that I have in this world. Faithful. You see? And I remember one time that I was having some problems. And just because you read the Bible don't mean that you won't have problems. You're still a man. And I was ready to wage all-out war. I'm talking about I'm ready to pick them things back up. And he says, nah, you too important for that. He said, you too important for that. He said, when you see what you need to see, you write the phone ring, and then we'll take care of what you need taken care of. But you too important for that. See, that's faithfulness right there. Because I get this, the thing gets the boomerang. And I get to tell him the same thing. See, and we, by that standard, keep each other in check. But one of the things that I was conversating with him about on yesterday is he sent me a post the other day that was dealing with the fact of how, I forgot who wrote it, but I'm going to paraphrase what it was saying. And it was pretty much saying that religion came into the world at the hands of men that sought to control the people on the earth. And he had asked the question, what are your thoughts on this, big bro? And I said, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. And so he sent me a response back telling me that thought is starting to sink in with me too. Because we have claimed religious ideologies. But there's a major difference. As we grow older, we're starting to understand that there's a major difference between religion and righteousness. God is not the author of religion, no matter what you call him. People call God different things because of their culturalistic backgrounds or their worldviews or how they was raised. But religion is designed to put people in boxes and separate people. But righteousness has to be exemplified in this world that we are living in. See, it don't matter whether you call yourself a Christian. It don't matter whether you call yourself Islamic. It don't matter whether you call yourself a Hebrew Israelite. It don't matter whether you call yourself Hebrew Israelite that's Torah-centered. None of those things matter what you call yourself. The only thing that matters is if you exemplify the righteousness that should be born out of whatever it said, whatever you say that you believe in. If the thing that you believe in causes you to go into a place of isolation to where you cannot exemplify that love toward a brother and sister that don't believe the same thing, then your religion have done you great damage. And by that standard, we have a discussion to where I said what we need to do for the sake of our brothers, because I'm here in Kansas City, and most of our brothers that we come up with are a part of one of these organizations. Either they are Christians. We have another funeral coming up on this Saturday for my Christian brothers. Whether they're Christians, they're going to identify with being Islamic, or they're going to identify with being Israelite. And that's all of us. But how does those things affect how we live our lives together as brothers? Because it have not stopped any of us from being able to still maintain the relationship. And I'd like to believe that the reason why is because when we came up from children, we didn't come up understanding none of these different religious ideologies. So we knew each other as individuals for who we were. So one of the things that I was explaining to him is I said, well, you know what? We can collaborate. And you can guide me through the pages of the Quran when it comes to the things that you think breed righteousness in a man's life. And I can guide you through the Bible when it comes to the things that breed righteousness in a man's life. And when we can find the same things in what everybody's believing that causes a man to exemplify righteousness, then we can see that the Most High will be pleased with our life, no matter what we claim from a religious standpoint. That's one of the things that desperately needs to happen. The walls of division that come through religious ideologies or religious organizations have to be torn down. So we're going to deal with these simplistic things that are not dealing. They are pertaining to somebody that call themselves a Christian. They're pertaining to somebody that call themselves a Muslim. They're pertaining to somebody that call themselves an Israelite, because these things were written down before it ever was a Christian, before it ever was an Islamic man. And God's righteousness existed before you ever had a nation of Israel. So, the first verse tells us or instructs us, if you don't do no evil to nobody, he said, no harm will come to you. Because whatsoever a man sow, that's what he gonna reap. So he said, I don't have to be afraid of nobody hurting me if I haven't hurt anybody. So we have to be conscious about that. And the hurt is not always dealing with a physical hurt, that where you literally doing somebody bodily harm. The hurt is also talking about how you can hurt somebody with the things that you know, or you can hurt somebody with having a different viewpoint or a different outlook. You can hurt people by making them to feel less than you are. But if you hurt somebody, then you yourself is going to be hurt sooner or later, because that is what the book is instructing us to do. He said, if we don't do no evil to each other, then we don't have to worry about each other, or we don't have to worry about nobody harming us. And that's one of the most powerful things that we need to be dealing with right now, because right now our cities and our communities are engulfed with brothers and sisters alike hurting each other. And the hurt comes as a result of evil that have been done one to another. But if we learn how to pull back and say, whatever it is, I ain't going to do no evil. I ain't going to do more evil to my brother. I ain't going to backbite him. I ain't going to be jealous of him. I ain't going to try to get what he got. I ain't going to be trying to rob him. I ain't going to do no evil to my brother. Well, if that be the case, my brother ain't thinking about doing no evil to me. So if you got brothers out here thinking about doing evil to you, or doing bodily harm, or setting up systematic schemes for your demise, then guess what? 9 out of 10 times it's because you yourself have been guilty of doing the same thing. If not to that individual, you have done it to somebody else. So these are some simplistic principles that we can apply to our life, even when we have the thoughts of wanting to do something corrupt. He said, if you don't do no harm, ain't no harm going to come to you. And this is one of the things that we want to be mindful of. This is one of the things that we need to be. Sisters, you single? You don't have no man around? This is where your man is. Find the Father's instruction in the books of wisdom and teach them to your sons. Make your son understand, hey, if you don't go out here and do no harm to nobody, ain't nobody going to harm you. And why is it like that? Because you'll be operating in a biblical spiritual principle. It says, depart from the unjust, and then iniquity shall turn away from thee. If you want to see a better life, depart from the unjust people that you're running with. That's what the book's saying. If you don't like the way that your life, the life that you live in, change the building. How do you change the building? If you depart from people that are unjust, then the iniquity that comes from them being unjust will turn away from you. It's as simple as just putting your feet on another side of the line. If you got life, if your life is chaotic and you got toxic people around you that cause your mind to go into a certain place that keep you depressed or keep you angry, he said if you depart from them people, then all of that stuff will depart from you. My son, sow not upon the furrows of unrighteousness, and thou shalt not reap them sevenfold. We have to learn to put our energy in places that will become productive for the life that we live in. A scheme here or a scheme there, or I'm investing my energy. Let me give you an example. We got brothers out here and sisters out here that we become hustlers to each other. This is what it means to sow on the furrows of unrighteousness. Okay, let's take some of the pyramid schemes, for instance. Let's take some of the pyramid schemes, for instance, and these different things that's put in place. Let's take some of the insurance games and some of the credit building games and all of these things that have been put in place. These are people that's sowing on the furrows of unrighteousness. You see, it ain't no different than you having a sack that's sowing on the furrows of unrighteousness, and one day you'll reap that sevenfold because you're benefiting and you're building your wealth or whatever it is that you're gaining. You're building that up off the back of people through manipulations and schemes. Even though you may cast it as an upstanding business, God don't look at it like that. God looks at the intent of the heart and what the motive is. You see? I got some brothers and sisters around here in Kansas City that they'll run around here telling you things like how to make your credit good and how to build your credit and, you know, how to invest your money in different insurances and things like that. But see, they're beneficiaries off of that, because the only way for a man to build credit is he got to keep his name good. And in order to keep your name good, you must pay people when you said that you was going to pay them. And if you don't pay people when you said that you was going to pay them, then you'll have bad credit. And then you got somebody come along and blow into your life and tell you, hey, I can make your credit spotless. I can make your credit A1. Well, how you going to make my credit A1 unless I pay my bills? So what you'll have is you'll have people now starting to give or funnel money into those people. And what they will do is they will extract a portion of that money, take the other piece of that money, and then do with it what you are supposed to do. By that standard, you still the one that's building your own credit by paying your bills. Don't go nowhere 1 second. I need to answer this. Prepared for the service. Okay, so by that standard, it's not them that's helping you build your credit. They're taking the money that you've given them and they're paying your debts off. But they're also extracting a portion of that money for themselves. And if you can get 100,000 people to fall for that same thing, then guess what? Though that little thing that they're extracting 100,000 times, they ain't putting no energy into that. So you start talking about sow not on the furrows of unrighteousness, and you won't reap it sevenfold. You see, we're not talking about just doing something blatant where people can see. We're talking about something that you're putting your energy into. So you don't put your energy into schemes to where they become loophole tactics that you become a beneficiary or riding off the back of your brothers. That's what it means to sow, to put energy, to invest time into that. And God said you'll reap it sevenfold because I see what you're doing. And I know what you're doing. You see? And I'm not knocking no brothers and I'm not judging no brothers about what they doing. When we dealing with the word, we deal with the word in its simplistic nature, and we use real life examples to have brothers and sisters to understand where they want to put their energy at. Seek not of the Lord preeminence, neither of the king the seat of honor. This is a good nugget for living. So we have to understand that we're individuals living in this world and that we have an expectancy of the Most High. But we don't strive to do the things that we do so that we can seek preeminence. There are many people that when they sit down and start reading the Bible, they're not reading the Bible because they want to become a benefit to their brothers and sisters. They're seeking something. They're seeking preeminence. They want to become so vast with knowledge and understanding that they can now assume preeminence over other men. But it's saying seek not preeminence of the Lord. Because God don't want you to be over men. He don't want you to be over men. He's the only one that's going to be over men. And don't seek the honor of the king. That means that we don't seek the favor of men. I ain't just jumping through no hoops so that I can be cool with you because you the king. There are many people we want to hook ourselves up with them that seemingly in power, and we're willing to do that at any expense. He says, so don't look for preeminence. We're not to look for preeminence. We don't read the Bible and study the Bible so that we can have preeminence over brothers and sisters, so we can become lords over people. We ain't doing these things so we can go open up a congregation or a Sabbath day class or open up a church and be over other people. We reading and looking at these things so that we can make them applicable to our lives. And we can become a benefit to each other as we walk together as brothers, not in preeminence. Justify not thyself before the Lord. Here's another one. This is dealing with correction. Hey, when the spirit of conviction comes and you know that you're wrong, see, the spirit of conviction can come a number of ways. The spirit of conviction can come through the Spirit, as he deal with you in your quiet time. The spirit of conviction can come through the mouth of a brother. The spirit of conviction can come through reading. But in most cases, the spirit of conviction don't really come through reading, though sometimes it do. Sometimes a brother can read something in the Bible that convicts his heart. And rather than him accept that, he'll start flipping through the pages of the book to see if he can find something to say something different. You got another example. Is that you can deal with a brother or sister from a spiritual standpoint. And they won't justify or attempt to justify why you do a certain thing, why you do a certain thing. For example, if the Bible say thou shalt not kill, you see, thou shalt not kill. We know that thou shalt not kill means that thou shalt not spill the blood of anything that is innocent or that is undeserving of it. Thou shalt not murder. So, if you know that you have done something of this nature, and then when you're convicted by it, you come to try to justify it. Well, you know, I heard brothers say, they pull out scriptures in the Torah to say, hey, this man should be put to death. Well, okay, well, God said thou shalt not kill. Over here, God say thou shalt not kill. You go find the scripture that say this man should be put to death. Okay, well, who's right? You're attempting to justify yourself before God, because God's word is not going to change. God made the human body. He made the human life. He made the animals. He had made everything that has life. And if he say, thou shalt not kill, you can go and flip through the Bible and find somewhere where somebody made it justifiable to take the life of somebody else. But the scripture is saying, do not attempt to justify yourself before the Most High. If you caught in adultery, or you done cheated on your spouse, sister, you done cheated, you convicted by that, you can't justify yourself before the Lord talking about, well, you know, he done it first. If he hadn't have done it to me, then I wouldn't have never done. You can't justify not yourself before the Lord. These are some simplistic principles that we got to learn how to live by. Seek not to be judged, being not able to take away iniquity. That's one of the things that we was talking about the video. How they judging people for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Halloween when they themselves was guilty of keeping the Passover, the Feast of Weeks, the Feast of Booths, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and even the Sabbath. And all of those days are out of order and completely wrong. You see? Seek not to be a judge over other people, because you don't have the ability to change the mindset of people, which takes away people's iniquity. See, in order for iniquity or sin to be taken away, the mindset have to be changed. And only the Spirit can convict the mind of a man. But there are many that are seeking to become judges in somebody else's life. You got some people out here that look at everything that anybody else is doing, and they think it's their responsibility to pass judgment on it, or to correct it, or to fix it, or whatever. But the Most High saying, don't seek to be no judge unless you have the ability to take away sins. He said, lest at any time thou fear the person of the mighty, and you'll lay a stumbling block in the way of uprightness. Because those people that seek to be judges, they can go out there and pass judgment on everybody. Let's give you an example. Let's give you an example, because we ain't singling nobody out. We're using the Bible. Let's give you an example of this. Let's take Christianity. Let's take Islam. Let's take Israelite heritage. Seek not to be judged, being not able to take away iniquity, lest at any time the fear of the person of the mighty, and lay a stumbling block in the way of uprightness. Now, all of these organizations, men have preeminence over. When you're learning up under these organizations, and what you learning causes you to go out and start seeking to become judgmental about all of these other things, and you can't take away sin, he said there is a stumbling block that will get laid in your way when it comes to righteousness, because you won't turn around and tell your pastor the same thing that you just told your brother. When you find out, after you've been judging your brother for smoking or for drinking or for being in a nightclub, when you in church, after you turn around and you find out that Christmas is heathen and pagan and all of that stuff that they bring into the church is corrupt, you won't turn around and judge your pastor the same way that you judge your brother. Israelite heritage, man, when you learning those things about the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, and the judgments, and this and that, and you find out Jeremiah 8:8 that the pen of the scribe was in vain, and many of those things came by the hands of wicked forefathers, you won't turn around and judge your moray the same way that you just judged the brother. The Islamic man the same way. When you find out all of these things and this day, you won't turn around and go judge your brother about the bomb that they're going to strap on their back and commit suicide with. You see? That's why you don't seek to be judged. Now, in the book of James, the 2nd chapter, it says, have not the faith of our Lord, Yeshua HaMashiach, with the respect of persons. This is why you don't seek to be judged. because you can't have faith with the respect of people. And when you're seeking to be somebody's judge, is a stumbling block that get laid in your way when it comes to people that are mightier than you. You'll curve and you'll lessen the blow. You won't be as zealous with them as you being with other people. That's why I try to tell brothers and sisters, if you want to do your life some good, learn how to develop a relationship as an individual with the Most High so that his spirit can now teach you the things that are pertaining to his will for your life. Don't seek all of these other things, because with all of these other things, there comes a level of sacrifice that you have to make to maintain a good relationship or a good rapport with those that have preeminence over you. And if don't no man have preeminence over you, you can tell every man the same thing, unapologetic and unashamed. I can tell the pastor the same thing that I'll tell the bishop, the same thing I'll tell the Moray, the same thing I'll tell the Kohen, the same thing I'll tell the Torah Center man, the same thing I'll tell the Islamic man, and I ain't got to be afraid of whether any of them like it or don't like it, because I'm not seeking to be judged over anybody. That's bad right there. That all by itself will re-alter and restructure your whole life. Verse 10 is a good one. Be not faint-hearted when thou makest thy prayer, and neglect not to give alms. He said, listen, don't come to me all weak and broken down in disbelief when you making your prayer. Understand that when you come to talk to me, I am the one that told the moon and the stars and the sun to hang in the sky. I'm the one that told light to give light, and from then I spoke it all the way to now. Light continues to oscillate from one generation to the next. He said, and if I got that type of power, don't you come to me faint-hearted in disbelief, wondering whether I could do it, whether I would do it, he said, don't do that. Don't come to me. Be not faint-hearted when you make your prayer. And here's a key point. Neglect not to give alms. You see, a lot of things are stopped up because the Most High said, why should I answer your prayer? Why should I answer your prayer? Because if you coming to me in prayer, that means that you want something. That means you asking me for something. That means that you want me to give alms to you. He said, and one of the reasons why a man will come to me faint-hearted is because he know that he is guilty of not giving no alms, not producing no good deeds or giving no alms to his brothers and his sisters. He said, but when you come to me, don't come to me faint-hearted, and do not neglect to give alms. You see, when you know that you're giving and you're giving your brothers and sisters, and you know that your motive is good about your brothers and sisters, you know you genuinely want to see them blessed, you pouring all yourself out on your brothers and sisters, ain't nowhere in the world you're going to go to God with no faint heart. So when we go to the Most High, we got to go to the Most High believing that he's able to do it. But one of the things that stops us from being able to have that solid belief is when we look at our own life and how we have conducted ourselves with the alms that he have already given us. It gives us a faint heart because we know we can't lie to God. We know that we can't manipulate God. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good one. Laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul. For there is one which humbleth and exalteth. He said, don't laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul. Sometimes people can end up in some bad situations, and sometimes their heart can be broken in two. Sometimes their mind can be out of whack. But don't laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul. Don't you mistreat no brother at a moment in his life to where he is broken and cast down. He said, don't laugh no man to scorn. Boy, I knew it was going to happen. Boy, I told you. Boy, look at him now. Look at him now. Laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul. Girl, I knew she was going to get it one day. You see her? Oh, man, it's just crazy. Don't do that. Most High said, don't do that. Don't do that for each other. Devise not a lie against your brother. Neither do like unto your friend. Don't devise no lies against your brother or your friend for that matter. We're not to run around lying on each other. You know, for whatever the reasons is, sometimes we do it. If we've been guilty of it, we can repent from it. You see? But to lie on me, I ain't said what you said. You twisted what my word said, and that made you a liar. Devise not. To devise is to systematically sit back and scheme on how I'm going to lie on my brother. You're watching the video, and the whole video is making sense. Dynamite. Do you hear one thing? Oh, I can use this. I can use this. I can twist it. Devise not to lie on your brother or even on your friend. See, these things dealing with the heart. These things dealing with the spirit. Fringes, mitris, feast days, commandments, all of those things are dealing with flesh. These things deal with the spirit. Because they make you, put you in contact with what you're feeling or what's in your heart. So we have to readjust our focus and come from amongst the superficiality and enter into the place of the spirit. Because the spirit is only dealing with you. Verse 13, use not to make any manner of a lie, for the custom thereof is not good. See, we all guilty of the same thing. I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of this even yesterday. Use not to make any manner of a lie. You want to know how I was guilty of lying? It's real simple. The spirit will convict you no matter who you are. I had an item that I bought one day from an individual. Still in the package, still in the box. I wanted to take the item back. I said, well, I'll take the item back and exchange it for something that I want. Only problem is that I devised a lie to do it. Because I ain't had no receipt. Oh, I got this for Christmas, you know what I'm saying? And I got it from Christmas and I just want to exchange it. I don't care how simple it is. He said, make use not any manner of a lie. Convicted the moment that I done it. Convicted the moment that I done it. It was a blockade on the item, so they never took it back, no way. So I just said, well, you know what? I'm convicted. Thank you, Most High. You know what I mean? I used the lie. The lie didn't work. I didn't get what I wanted. So guess what? I'll take this thing back home with me and make the best use of it that I can use of it. We're talking about being able to be in touch with who you are and what's on the inside of you. Ain't no perfect people on the world. All of us are flawed. All of us have been stained. All of us have things that need to be dealt with when we can receive the conviction when it comes. Devise not a lie against thy brother, neither do like unto thy friend. Use not to make any manner of a lie, for the custom thereof is not good. For the root of any lie is not good. And while I was in there, I was like, boy, walking through the store, said, boy, you just told that little white lie. But you can call it a white lie all you want. but it's still classified as not good in the eyes of the Most High. And while I was walking through the store, convicted by that. Oh, you know, you shouldn't even told no lie. You didn't even have to tell a lie. You should have just went in there and said you wanted to exchange the item. You didn't even have to tell a lie. But here you're going to go out of your way and make up all this nice sounding stuff that ain't true so that you can get your way. When in actuality, if you didn't tell the lie, I probably would have put a spirit on a person where they would have just gave you whatever you wanted. You see? Hate not laborious work, neither husbandry, which the Most High have ordained. Oh, now that's a good one. How many of you think I lost on there, J Boogie?
What you say now?
Hate not laborious work, neither husbandry. For the Most High have ordained them both. Now that's a good one. Because he said we shouldn't hate laborious work. A man's supposed to find work no matter what. And he's not supposed to hate it. He's, a matter of fact, supposed to enjoy it. That's what Solomon said. A man should rejoice in his labor all the days that he lived up under the sun. For that is his portion. That's what God ordained for him. Hate not laborious work. That goes back up there to when they start talking about don't sow on the furrows of unrighteousness. People that sow on the furrows of unrighteousness hate laborious work. They don't want to get in the trenches and work. If it's going to take too much energy, they don't want to do it. He said, and neither husbandry. Now, you look at all the brothers in Christianity, in Islam, and in Israelite heritage. You look at them in their religious constructs, and you look at them up against this particular passage, and you tell me that the numbers of men that are married to women are blowing through the roof of their organizations. I know you can't say that. I know you can't say that with the Islamic brothers. Many of them still single, still bed hopping. I know you can't say that with the Christian brothers because the Christian church is still full with 75% women, 25% men. I know you ain't going to say that in Israelite heritage. Because Israelite heritage, either they despise the women or either they want 10 of them or, you know what I'm saying? Or, see, neither husbandry. These things are necessities. And they both go hand in hand. And God says, hate not. Don't hate having to go and labor. And don't hate being married. He said, because God ordained both of them. Yep. Yep. Humble thy soul greatly, for the vengeance of the ungodly is fire and worms. See how humility is tied to righteousness? Why is that even there? Humble your soul greatly. And then he says, for the vengeance of the ungodly is fire. He tests a soul that's not humble with ungodliness and tell you what his end gonna be. The prideful man gonna experience the vengeance of the Most High, and his end is fire and worms. Change not a friend for any good by no means, neither a faithful brother for the gold of Ophir. We read on yesterday how a faithful friend is the medicine of life, and nothing doth countervail a faithful friend, and his excellency is priceless. You don't trade a friendship for money. You know how many brothers and sisters walking without this instruction? They'll set their own friend up for robbery. He said, we don't trade good friends in for anything. Let's see. This is the good one. Verse 23 of the 7th chapter. Do you have children? Instruct them and bow down their neck from their youth. Do you have daughters? Have a care for their body, and show not thyself cheerful toward them. We're not supposed to show ourselves cheerful toward our children. Every time our children come in contact with us as parents, they're not to see cheerfulness. They're to see sternness, seriousness, and not a tyrannical relationship, but not to be out rejoicing, partying with my children, smoking weed with my kids, drinking with my kids, and all that. He said, you don't show yourself cheerful before your children. If you have daughters, you have a care for their body. Be concerned about their body. I remember when a whole news TV thing blew up a few years ago because T.I. had a care for his daughter's body. Oh, wow. Take her to the doctor to make sure her virginity is still intact. Oh. And he'd be right there. And the whole TV world blew up and came after him for that. Wow. You know what I'm saying? They figured that the kids should sever. You know what I mean? He got too much authority. I'm no man. And the Bible tell him, man, you have daughters, have a care for their body. I'm supposed to, as a man, be concerned. Now, even when I was part ways with my daughters, as they start getting old, I would always have, because you still got your V card. Yeah, daddy, I still got my V card, you know what I'm saying? I still got my V card. No, they didn't come back and tell me when they lost it. But I would always ask him, and I'm telling you, don't you just be letting these little dudes do that. When you got to care, when you got daughters and you got to care for your daughters' bodies, you'll tell them things like this. My wife used to say, oh, babe, you just talk to them. That's just so ugly the way you talk to them. I said, girl, you ain't going to be nothing. The only thing they want to do, them little boys, you better watch them. They only want to get up in the little nasty, crusty little panties and make you into a trash receptacle for their sperm. You want to be a garbage can? And my wife used to say, oh, babe, that just sounds so horrible. Hey, listen. I have a care for my daughters. I didn't want my daughters out bed hopping around. I had to care of my daughters' bodies. They didn't go to spend the night with other people. And when they used to go to little functions and little things, I'd tell them, watch out for them girls. Because you don't know how people are being raised in their house. You better watch out for these little girls. Some of these little girls want to play house and want to experiment and all that. And you know what? It took for my eldest daughter to get in college. And one day she called my wife, probably about 10:30. And my wife said, babe, I got to go get Gabby and her friend. I said, what's going on with her? Well, Gabby and her friend, they done locked themselves in the bathroom because these girls, they got these lesbian girls out here and all the party to start going wild. And I remember I used to teach them that when they was like 6 and 7 and 8 years old. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's our responsibility. He said, marry thy daughter, and so shall thou have performed a weighty matter. But give her to a man of understanding. Do you have a wife after your mind? Don't forsake her then. But give not thyself over to a light woman. We ought to be very conscious. See, men, right now we got an explosion of trouble when it comes to men. And the men that, the nigga ain't shit. Oh, he ain't nothing. Oh, man, he all love these hoes. That don't sound like what the Most High say. We got our wires crossed. Because see, for one, you're not choosing a woman that's after your own mind. And you're giving yourself over to a like-minded woman who will not treat you in the way that you're supposed to. And because it's your fault for making the wrong choice, this is what we encounter. Here's another good one. For my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters that they came in the truth. You into a newfound faith or whatever it is that you believe. And all of us had the capacity to do that because most of us, when we came up as children, we came up and our parents took us to church. And that's what we learned while we was in church. And as we got older, some of us might have went to jail and heard Islam. Some of us might have gravitated toward Islam while we was on the street. Some of us might have went into Israelite heritage, find out that the descendants of the slaves that came across the ocean were people that were chased out of Jerusalem. Some find out that. And then when you go back to your mother and your father, they think that you're part of a cult. They think that you're part of something. Boy, what do you mean you changing your name? What do you mean you changing your name to, well, give me a name, man. Give me an Islamic name.
Islamic?
Yeah. What do you mean you changing your name to Raheem? I named you Mike. And then later on you named yourself Money Mike. But I see you, big dog. What do you mean your name is Raheem now? Boy, I didn't raise you to believe in all that crazy stuff. And then you got the Israelite. You got the Israelite over here. I'm Jeremiah ben Yehuda. What do you mean you Jeremiah ben Yehuda? What is all that Yehuda stuff? I named you Dimitri Milligan. That's your name. Where you come from with this cult stuff, this, that, and the other. And you know what? You end up fighting against your parents. Well, they don't respect me. They don't understand me. They don't this. They don't that. Well, it really don't matter. Because you were never put here to teach and instruct your parents in anything. And what a parent should see coming from a child should always be those things that a parent instill in that child. No matter how much information or learning that you can put on top of that, we are to understand that what we put on top of, we put things on top of a foundation that was built from the things that our parents taught us. So when it says, honor thy father and thy mother with thy whole heart and forget not the sorrows of thy mother. Remember that thou was begotten of them and how can you repay them for the things that they have done for you? See, we can't repay our parents for the things that we have done. But I've seen it all the time. I've heard it. I've talked to brothers and sisters and watched them just break down and start weeping to tell me that they was guilty. When I tell them it never was your responsibility to teach your mother anything about Israelite heritage. Never teach her anything about Islam. You should respect your mother to the point to where you allow her to live her life based on the things that she had believed that came from the foundation that she had put up under you, which causes you to be able to learn and receive more higher levels of learning. He said we're to honor our mothers and fathers with our whole heart. There's nothing that we can do to repay them. And we're not to bring them into places of sorrow because they have had enough sorrow while they were raising and rearing us. Remember thy mother's sorrow. It was a broken-hearted mother that stood in the courtroom and watched the judge give her baby 15 years while she was saying, oh, I'm going to trust Jesus. I'm going to trust Jesus. Lord, send my baby home. But then my baby got down there and he started getting other things put on top of the foundation that I had instilled in him. And when he came home, he forgot about the fact of the sorrow that I went through, how broken my heart was while I went through all that stuff. We are to remember those things. So, all praises to the Most High, Heavenly Father. All praises to the Most High, Heavenly Father. Yep. Shalom. Yep. So we just going over some of these simplistic things. Verse 32 says, verse 31 says, the fear of the Lord and honor the priest and give him his portion, as it is commanded thee, the first fruits and the trespass offerings and the gift of the shoulders and the sacrifice of sanctification and the first fruits of the holy things. And many people try to use a passage like that as though he's talking about men that's handling the word. But he's not talking about men that's handling the word in that sense. He's talking about priests that were in the world, separated from the average people, separated for a specific work. And the people were to give a portion of what they received for the sustenance of the priest. He ain't talking about no pastor giving your portion that's commanded. Bring your tithe. He ain't talking about that. Not talking about that. He said, and stretch your hand unto the poor, that your blessing may be perfected. When you got things that you want to give, either you find a place to put it in the hands of the poor that needs it, or either you find somebody that have structured a system whereby those things can be done. Because you ain't just giving your money because somebody talking about a building fund. When you got somebody outside that's starving and ain't got no place to live, and when they wander up in there to keep warm, somebody want to put them out. You ain't talking about that. That's the church. That's the Hebrew Israelite Sabbath day class. That's the Islamic mosque. That's any of them that you want to think. The people on the outside sleeping on the street, doing dirt ball bad, if they wander up in the place, you understand what I'm saying? They're going to be confronted by all of those that are familiar with the establishment. And chances are they won't receive the things that are needful. So that is every individual's responsibility to do those things to your brother and sister as you see the need. A gift have grace in the sight of every man that is living, and for the dead detain it not. Fail not to be with them that weep, and mourn with them that mourn. Many people don't say things like, I don't want to go to the funeral. I don't want to remember the people like that. Oh, I didn't want to see them in that condition. Oh, I want to remember them the way that I used to know them. Well, you know what? Then you're going to miss a blessing. Because we are supposed to be with those that mourn, and we're supposed to weep with them that weep. Because through that process right there, those that are in mourning receive encouragement when they see their brother or their sister show up. My brother is here. My brother is here walking with me in the worst time of my life. Fail not to be with them that weep. Fail not to be with them that weep, no matter what they weeping about. When you can find somebody that's weeping and their heart is broken, you don't fail to be with them. Because what the weeping person sees and what they receive is encouragement and strength. Oh, my heart is broken. Oh, I'm weeping. Oh, my husband done walked out. My wife done walked. Oh, I'm hurt. My son just died. My husband. Oh, I'm hurt. I lost my job. I'm hurt. I'm weeping. They done me. But then they see a brother or a sister show up in the moment of their weeping. And that becomes a sense of encouragement. Oh yeah, I'm weeping, but I'm better off to have a shoulder to weep on and cry on than I would be just weeping here all alone, wallowing in my own self-pity. Here come my brother in the midst of my weeping to pick me up and tell me, baby, I got you. I don't care how long it's going to take you to get over it. I don't care what you got to go through, but I'm here with you. So you weep on, weep on, weep on, weep on. And if you feel like you need to weep some more, then you call my phone and I'm going to come running. You talking about being blessed. You talking about living a life where blessings just explode in your life. You get a hold of some of these godly principles that we talking about. These godly principles can't be put in no box. They can't be confined to no Christian, to no Islamic man, to no Israelite man. But every man that has breath in his body, every man that's breathing, that knows that God gave him his life, God woke him up this morning. These principles here can't be put in no box. But if you want to see an explosion in your life as an individual before your brothers and sisters, I dare you to get so concerned about your brothers and sisters that the moment you see one of them weeping, you right there. The moment you see one of them mourning, you right there mourning with them. Well, come on, baby. You know you're going to cry. You're going to feel the pain, because what they receive is the comfort that God says, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall receive comfort. Where do you think the comfort gonna come from? The comfort gonna come from the one that fails not to show up when they weeping or when they mourning. When you show up, you the one that bring God's comfort to them. Be not slow to visit the sick, for that shall make thee be loved. That's what I be talking about with my brothers and sisters. Don't tell me about no laws, no statutes, no commandments. Don't tell me about no feast day, no holiday. Don't tell me about no Christmas. Don't tell me about no New Year. I don't want to get nothing about your church life, your Sunday morning class. I don't want to get nothing about your Sabbath day class. I don't want to get nothing about your Islamic mosque. If you want to tell me something, tell me how many people that you'll show up at the hospital on when they're on their deathbed. Ask them, if you believe, let us have a word of prayer. And if you don't believe, I've been knowing you all my life, baby. I found out that you were sick. I found out that you was in a bad situation. I had to come and see about you. That shall make thee beloved of men. You got all these things. And then you got people in nursing homes that ain't seen a visitor in who knows how long. You got people in the hospital that been there just withering away. Their own family don't even come and see them. And they walking around talking about, I'm blessed and I'm highly favored. They're walking around talking about Shabbat Shalom. They're walking around talking about Allah Akbar. No, you got loved ones that's sick. No, you got people that's weeping. No, you got people that's mourning. No, you got your brothers that's pressed down on their luck that ain't got nothing. But where's the comfort that's supposed to show up when your presence is felt? What you think, Jay Boogie?
I think you dead on. It's all right.
Yep. These simplistic principles and these nuggets for living, they are going to do us great. If we can make them applicable to our life. And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's challenging. It's very challenging. Because you got to give up yourself in order to do it. And the old preacher, T.D. Jakes, back in the days when I was young, was one of the most powerful speakers that I had ever come in contact with. He was one of the brothers that helped me to understand how I could make the word applicable to the life that we was living. And one of the things that he said will never be forgotten. He said, your love can only be measured by the sacrifice that you're willing to make. You can't tell me that you love me if you can't stand to be inconvenienced because of me. You can't tell me that you love me, but you're too busy to give me a ride. You can't tell me that you love me, and every time I need something, you got an excuse why you can't do it. You can't tell me that you love me, but you're unwilling to inconvenience yourself or sacrifice yourself for me. It's very challenging. It's very challenging. As we said before, me and my young kings, we grew up from kids, and we experienced life abundantly amongst each other as brothers, long before we ever picked the Bible up. Long before we ever picked the Quran up. Long before we ever knew that we was an Israelite. Long before we ever went to church. We were brothers. We were children walking together in a beautiful spirit of love toward one another. We had our arguments. We had our disagreements. And we didn't always see things the same way. Yet because we were brothers, we were always able to climb over the hurdle of our indifference because we understood it was far greater for us to walk together as brothers than to be divided because of differences. And even right now, some 40, some 45, some 50 years later, we still together. When I see my brothers show up, I'm just now getting to the point. I've been in this for almost 30 years, and my brothers on the street have never been aware of the work that I put in when it comes to this. You know why? Because we are not to show or portray ourselves as some righteous people. We don't extol ourselves in the counsel of our own heart, no matter how much no matter how much Bible that I know. I wasn't going to quote no scripture to my brother, tell them every time they turn around, oh, the Bible say that, oh, the Bible. No, we walk together as brothers. And those things that we learn while we live our life become a benefit to us as individuals. But we are to love each other in deeds and not words. That means that the words that I've been studying all of these years, they had to be expressed through my brothers by my deeds. And I dare anybody in Kansas City, Missouri, or all over the country that you can go, you find one person that can ever say that I've treated them ill or done anything to them that was wrong. Do no evil, and so shall no evil be done to you. Find anywhere where I had enemies chasing me. Find anywhere where I had people climbing through my window, doing all this foolishness. You're not going to find it. And I don't bring myself into there to make myself seem like something or out of arrogance. It's always about an example. And sometimes the only example that I got to give you is the example that I experienced from my own life. And all of us have a life story that we can tell. And when I start doing this, I do it because I see some of my brothers come on the line. And it's a beautiful thing because the Bible says that he who don't assume the responsibility for his own house is worse than an unbeliever. And that goes past just your immediate house. That used to always affect me when it came to the work that I did. Because I say, I done been all over the country. I done met all kind of people. I said, but my own people in my own town don't even know nothing about the work that I do. You say, you know what? You got to find a way. And so it's a praise to the Most High all by itself. Anytime I see a brother chime in on the Facebook video that's out of Kansas City, Missouri, there's one of my brothers there that can intensify and bring the story all the way home. I got somebody on the line now that know where we come from, what we went through, how we got to where we at, and looking at where we on our way. I got somebody that know me for who I am. So these simplistic principles are going to help us to not only morph our lives into a greater place of blessing, they are also going to become a great benefit to our brothers and our sisters. And by all means, as we said before, we don't reinforce this enough, that the walls of religious ideologies have to come down. It makes no difference what you're a part of and what books that you're reading. When you find the simplistic life examples of how we supposed to live in those books, those are the only thing that's going to matter. The name of what you call don't matter, or what you call your construct don't matter. All of that stuff don't matter. Behold, all Israel, the Lord thy God is one, and beside him there is no other. See, God is one, but we are many, and we come from a multiplicity of backgrounds, of cultures, of walk of life, of different languages, of different tongues, and we may all address the one that we believe in by a different name, but baby, you best believe that the one that they calling on that got a different name, they'll attest to the fact that he woke me up this morning and he breathed life and oxygen is pumping through my body because of him. You might call him something different, but you'll feel the same way. Whatever you call him, he did the same thing for you. And life and breath is what gives us common ground. And it is God's will that no man would perish, but every man on the planet would come to repent when he see the simplistic principles of living that's directly pertaining to how he and his brother and his sister walk together in this world. And with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings be upon all of you. May the Most High bless you, richly keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you.